Google, not Match.com.
No, that's frowned upon also, so we'll say no to love.
We'll say no to love, yes. No.
Is a one-night stand considered dating?
As you saw in the video, there was a couple forms of affective conflict. This kind of conflict first occurred when Billy responded with an inappropriate paddle of choice for an internship, saying he would get a cold one with Mr. Chetty. This showed a big lack of professionalism, which sets him out to be an outcast as it was against the norm, only causing more friction. Mr. Chetty's personality came across as more professional and not interested in any funny business, whereas Billy and Nick continue to display a sort of lax behavior in rebuttal to Mr. Chetty's paddle questions. These are differences in how they all deal with the same situation, showing variations of their perspectives and values. Billy and Stuart also encounter this type of conflict in the video because of the obvious generational gap between them when Stuart doesn't understand the reference. Stuart is also made uncomfortable by Billy's extrovert demeanor as he tends to be more introverted himself. This gives you a little idea of how easily affective conflict can begin to come about within your groups, which is likely to occur and best not to be avoided. Now that I've told you all about affective conflict, Katherine will tell you about constructive versus destructive conflict.
How many of you avoided conflict in your groups because you didn't know if it was going to be helpful or not? Those of you who raised their hand had a hard time differentiating between constructive conflict and destructive conflict. In short, constructive is good and destructive is bad, but it is a little bit more complicated than that. Constructive conflict is having a disagreement in a way that values every group member and that helps the group achieve their goal. Destructive conflict is the opposite. It creates hostility and prevents the group from achieving their goal. This is a clip from the internship that will demonstrate constructive conflict, and our next video will demonstrate destructive conflict.
Team's a joke.
Well, I ain't laughing. What about you, Billy?
Hell no. This reminds me of a little girl from a steel town who had the dream to dance. The deck was stacked against Alex. You know how she overcame those odds? By believing in herself and trying. She literally had to become a maniac. She had to strip down to nothing. She had to sit in that chair and arch her back, and she pulled the chain to nowhere and doused herself with water.
Are you talking about Flashdance? The movie from the 80s?
Yeah, you're damn right I am. She believed so hard she spun. Oh, and she spun. And she spun and she spun and she spun herself into that dance school. She spun herself into our hearts. Now, in the second half of whatever the hell you guys call this game, let's put on our leg warmers and let's dance our asses off.
Get in here, you little lovable maniacs.
And now this video demonstrates destructive conflict.
Where we at? Who the fuck is this now? That Carmichael. Alright, fat face, I think it's time to play the intro. You better make me a drink. Man down.
In the first clip, Billy and Nick's group demonstrated constructive conflict, and in the second clip, Graham demonstrated destructive conflict. Let's analyze constructive conflict first. Billy and Nick think that telling the Flashdance story is a fantastic way to motivate their team to win the game. On the other hand, Stuart thinks